Catch-22 is not a paradox. It's a perfectly valid argument. That's what makes it unbearable. A pilot is insane if he willingly flies deadly combat missions. But if he asks to be grounded because he fears for his life, that request proves he is thinking rationally. And a rational man is fit to fly. The logic is clean. The syllogism holds. There is no contradiction to expose, no hidden flaw to correct. And that is the trap Joseph Heller built into Catch-22. We tend to believe injustice depends on irrationality, on stupidity, corruption, or madness. We assume that if we think clearly enough, argue carefully enough, we can locate the error and dismantle it. But Catch-22 offers no such comfort. The rule does not malfunction. It does exactly what it is designed to do. And that forces a more disturbing question. What if the problem isn't that the system is illogical, but that it is logically sound? The rule does not silence protest. It incorporates it. If you do not want to fly, you are sane. If you are sane, you are obligated to fly. The more lucid you are about the danger, the more decisively the rule applies to you. Objection becomes confirmation. This is not merely satire of military bureaucracy. It is a demonstration of a closed logical universe. Catch-22 does not overpower Yossarian with brute force. It defines him. It categorizes him. It absorbs his resistance into its structure. You cannot argue your way out because the argument itself presupposes the framework that binds you. The deeper horror of Catch-22 is not that reason is abused. It is that reason, functioning perfectly, can be indifferent to human survival. The system needs sane men to continue flying. If everyone were irrational, the war machine would collapse. The rule ensures that rational self-preservation cannot interrupt institutional necessity. It translates fear into fitness. It converts self-awareness into eligibility. Sanity becomes a qualification for further exposure to danger. This inversion cuts deeper than bureaucratic critique. It challenges one of the central promises of modernity, that rationality liberates. Enlightenment thought casts reason as the antidote to superstition and arbitrary power. Through clarity, we free ourselves. But in Catch-22, clarity does not free anyone. Dr. Nika explains the rule calmly. The logic is transparent. Yossarian understands it completely. Nothing changes. Understanding intensifies the trap because it reveals that there is no mistake to correct. The system is not confused. It is coherent. And coherence has no inherent moral orientation. Logic does not care who survives. It cares only that definitions align and conclusions follow. Catch-22 works because it controls definitions. It defines insanity in a way that preserves the needs of the institution. It defines sanity in a way that guarantees participation. Whoever controls definitions controls outcomes. Once the categories are set, the conclusions unfold automatically. You are sane. Sane men fly. Therefore, you fly. The force of the rule is linguistic. It exists because it is articulated and accepted. Famously, when Yossarian asks to see Catch-22 written down, he is told it does not have to be. It exists because those in authority say it exists. It justifies itself by operating. It is a self-sealing structure. Every attempt to falsify it reinforces it. Every protest proves its applicability. That structure is more unsettling than overt tyranny. Tyranny can be opposed because it contradicts declared principles. Catch-22 does not contradict itself. It fulfills itself, and that fulfillment suggests something broader about modern systems. Institutions do not necessarily require irrational actors. They require rational actors whose rational self-interest is subordinated to systemic continuation. The system depends on individuals who can calculate risk, recognize danger, and still comply. The tragedy is not that the system malfunctions. It performs exactly as designed. Throughout the novel, variations of Catch-22 proliferate. Mission quotas rise each time they are nearly met. Official records overwrite lived reality. Procedures are followed meticulously, and outcomes grow increasingly detached from human meaning. Each instance shares the same structure. Consistent application of rules produces results that feel profoundly unjust. The phrase Catch-22 expands beyond a single regulation. It becomes a principle of self-preserving systems. Any structure committed above all to its own continuity can redefine escape as evidence of obligation. Dissent becomes proof of instability. Refusal becomes confirmation of necessity. This is why the novel feels less like a war story and more like an anatomy of ideology. In a truly closed system, opposition is not crushed. It is metabolized. The framework anticipates resistance and assigns it a place within itself. What makes this revelation bearable is that it is funny. Heller's tone is dry, almost playful. The elegance of the paradox invites admiration. We laugh because the logic is so symmetrical, so perfectly constructed. But beneath the laughter is a recognition that the structure is familiar. We encounter versions of it whenever a system demands proof that can only be obtained after approval, whenever initiative is required but deviation is punished, whenever protest is reframed as pathology. And here, the ground shifts again. Perhaps Catch-22 is not wrong. If insanity is defined as irrationally courting death, then a man who wants to avoid death is sane. And a sane pilot is, technically, fit for duty. The syllogism does not collapse under scrutiny. It simply does not include the value of individual survival as a decisive premise. That omission is not a logical error. It is a choice of priority. Catch-22 suggests that rationality alone cannot supply that priority. Logic ensures consistency. It does not ensure justice. It aligns premises and conclusions. It does not decide which premises ought to govern. The most radical gesture in the novel is not an argument. It is Yossarian's eventual refusal to play by the terms at all. He does not disprove Catch-22. He exits the framework. He steps outside the system that gives the rule authority. You cannot defeat a closed logic from within it. You can only refuse its jurisdiction. And that is what makes Catch-22 endure. It unsettles the comforting belief that clear thinking is always sufficient. It raises the possibility that some of the systems we inhabit are not irrational aberrations, but coherent structures whose goals are simply misaligned with our survival. The nightmare is not that the system is irrational. It is that it is rational. And your rationality is precisely what makes you useful to it. Catch-22 does not silence the sane. It recruits them. And if the structure is coherent, then your objections may not be cracks in the wall. They may be proof that you belong inside it. Or worse, proof that you are exactly where the system wants you.